We begin this Sunday morning with the Battleground Push toward Election Day and efforts to ensure a fair election come November 5th. Now, 86 days away. Early voting beginning in key battleground states next month in early September. The Republican National Committee demanding transparency and election integrity, filing lawsuits and hiring new staffers to help clean up the voter rolls. This week in Clark County, Nevada, home of the state's largest city of Las Vegas, Republicans removed over 90,000 inactive voters from the rolls. And then in Virginia, Governor Glenn Youngkin issuing an executive order mandating that all votes cast in November's presidential election be done by paper ballot with a strict chain of custody in place. Meanwhile, the House passed the Safeguard American Voter Eligibility Act last month. It would require proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections, but 198 Democrats voted against it. The Senate leadership has not brought the SAVE Act to the floor for debate and is unlikely to do so. Meanwhile, Wisconsin Representative Brian Stile, chairman of the Administration Committee, is launching an investigation into the Democrats' main funding vehicle, Act Blue, and asking whether or not foreign money is being donated to Democrats. Now, with 10 million illegals crossing into America on the Biden-Harris administration's watch, New York Congresswoman Claudia Tenney says many illegals apparently are already registered to vote, and Democrats are not interested in voter security.
We had a bill that required proof of citizenship for voting, the SAVE Act. 198 Democrats voted against it, and Chuck Schumer refuses to bring it up on the Senate floor, and Joe Biden promised to veto it if it passed. So they are all for non-citizen voting. That is undermining our process and our system. This is what we've got to look out for. Are the Democrats in Democrat states going to starve these local governments and the state governments from having the resources they need to watch what happens at the polls? Because this is the key thing, Maria. Once that ballot gets in the box, you can't turn it around.
Joining me now in this Sunday Morning Futures exclusive is the chairman of the Republican National Committee, Michael Whatley. Michael, good to see you. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's always great to join you, Maria.
Give us your reaction to all of this. Claudia Tenney, Brian Stile say there are illegals registered right now to vote in this presidential election.
Yeah, it's a huge problem that we're fighting in every single state right now. We have filed over 100 lawsuits from the RNC to try and make sure that we have election integrity across the country. We want to get the basics of election law right. Only American citizens can vote. You have to have a voter ID. States need to clean up their voter rolls. And if you have mail-in voting, then we want basic safeguards put in place, like you must have a signature, you must have a witness. We want those in the mailboxes, not the drop boxes, and you have to have them in by Election Day. When we get the rules of the road in place right away before the voting starts, it's going to make a tremendous difference.
Well, I mean, look, there are plenty of states that say no voter ID. Do not bring your ID when you come to vote. A lot of Democrat states. And then you also have Merrick Garland, the Attorney General, saying that he will vow to stop any voter ID efforts. What's wrong with having an ID to vote? And tell me about this last lawsuit that you just filed against the White House for doing just that.
Yeah, well, what we want to do is make sure that we have that in place. We're going to go aggressively to file it. The fact is you have to have an ID to go to Kamala Harris's rallies. You have to have an ID when you go to pick up a prescription or fly on an airplane. You should have an ID when you go to vote. We are pushing right now with a lawsuit against the Biden administration for encouraging illegal aliens to vote, for encouraging and requiring all federal departments and agencies to go out and register voters, whether they're legal or not. And they're pushing very aggressively on anybody getting benefits to be automatically registered. So there's a big push on that. The second component for election integrity is you got to be in the room. We announced when Laura Trump and I took over at the RNC 4 months ago that we were going to recruit over 100,000 volunteers into our national program, our Protect the Vote program. Happy to say that we've already got 157,000 volunteers who've registered for that program. We're going to continue to push for the next 87 days to make sure that we have the biggest, most robust national election integrity program in the history of the country.
Well, I've got a couple of questions just based on what you just said. First of all, the White House, this lawsuit against the Biden administration for encouraging illegals to vote. How are they doing that? I mean, there are 10 million illegals in the country right now under the Biden-Harris administration because of the wide open border. What specifically are they doing to encourage them to vote?
Well, there's two things. First off, Kamala Harris has openly said that she is going to give them amnesty, make them citizens, and allow them to vote. Secondly, the Biden administration issued an executive order where they are requiring every federal department and agency to do everything they can to register all of these people as voters. We're seeing it right now in many different states, and we're pushing back with lawsuits. And thankfully, we've got people like Brian Stile in the House committee. We've got great attorneys general like Jason Miyares down in Virginia. We've got Governor Youngkin, who is doing everything he can to try and help there. And all across the country, we're seeing Republican governors, attorneys generals, and secretaries of states who are making sure that it is going to be easy to vote and hard to cheat.
Well, look, we know that oftentimes they are issuing driver's licenses to some of these illegals coming into the country after they get processed. Is a driver's license proof of citizenship?
No, it's not, especially when you have states like Arizona and Nevada and others that are giving driver's licenses to illegal aliens under their state law, and then they're automatically registering anybody with a driver's license. These are the types of changes that we're fighting to implement across the country.
Which states specifically are you worried about? Because this is up to the states.
Well, I worry about every state, Maria. I think that what we need to do is have every state follow Glenn Youngkin's lead. We need Frank LaRose up in Ohio just did a great job announcing a series of changes that they're making in Ohio. So we have leaders right now, and we need every state to follow them.
Look, we're talking this morning about policy. We focused on policy last week when President Trump joined me, and we're waiting to see what policies Kamala Harris is going to unveil, because so far there's not a word about what she wants to do should she get to the White House. There's no plan on her website. She hasn't articulated anything, except now she is saying that she, in Las Vegas or in Nevada, where she's talking to lots of service people, and she says that she's not going to tax their tips, just like President Trump said so long ago. That's the only policy that she's talked about.
Look, I think that what we have seen coming out of this campaign over the last 2 to 3 weeks is a stunning turnaround for Kamala Harris. You know, she has basically said that she supports fracking. She said that she's going to shut down the border. She said that she is going to fight inflation. Now she says that she is going to no tax on tips, the way that President Trump has said it. Her flip-flops are coming at an amazing rate. And you have to wonder, is she truly saying that the Harris-Biden administration was completely wrong for the last 4 years on every issue that matters to the voters? Or is she just pandering to them because she knows there's an election coming up in 87 days?
Well, that's what we want to know. How much should we be trusting in some of these comments? Look, the DNC is a week away. They're going to have their convention. You had an incredibly successful Republican National Convention a couple of weeks ago. But going into the DNC, what are you doing on the Republican side? It's going to be all Hollywood. Next Sunday, you know that President Obama, President Clinton will all be there, along with celebrities celebrating the Democrat ticket.
Well, they're certainly going to have a show. There's no question about it. What we're going to do is go talk directly to the American voters. We're going to continue to talk to every American family. President Trump is the only candidate right now who is even interested in uniting this country. He's the only candidate who is going to work every day, as he showed us during his 4 years in office, that is going to protect the southern border. He is going to build our economy, and he's going to restore our standing in the world. Right now, those are the issues that American voters care about, and we're going to continue to play offense and talk to those voters every single day.
All right, Mr. Chairman, good to have you on the program. Thanks so much.
Thank you, Maria.
All right, RNC Chairman Michael Whatley, thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.